Welcome to the Luxury Rental Blueprint Podcast, your ultimate guide to creating stunning vacation and corporate rental spaces. Join us as we unveil the secrets to boosting revenue and elevating guest experiences through high-quality design and luxurious amenities. Whether you're a seasoned property investor or just starting out, on this podcast, we aim to provide you with the tools and insights you need to build your own 5-star rental empire. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Luxury Rental Blueprint Podcast. This week's guest has had a true come up from working as a lackluster W-2 corporate job in the vacation rental industry to losing that job and crashing on friends' couches. He eventually found his true passion in the entrepreneurial journey. He stepped out on his own, first investing in smaller properties, leading to larger investments, and eventually outright purchasing co-host companies to expand this ever-growing portfolio of luxury rental properties in the Joshua Tree market. He's your go-to expert on all things Joshua Tree, and he's here today to share all of the best practices in creating successful luxury rentals in the California desert. Let's give a warm welcome to Patryk Swietek. This is where I need to insert cheers and woohoo.
Yeah, and where are the buttons with the woo and choo and ding 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 ding?
We get
that make this great, right? No, thank you for that amazing introduction. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, well, thank you again so much for being here and taking time out of your busy schedule. The Joshua Tree market is very well known for its super high-end luxury properties that really provide the ultimate profitability for investors in that market. So I'm really excited to hear about your journey and then just learn from you more about this market and what makes it so special.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's get in.
I know, just the market of Joshua Tree, to your point, when you really think about Joshua Tree, you think about the guests that go there and you think about the people that invest there, I'm just going to paint a picture for everyone that's listening, right? So across the country, there's short-term rentals, and we all know that every area has its own standards. Joshua Tree has some of the highest standards, right? So, it's kind of like playing in the NBA while other people playing maybe, college ball or something like that. There's a little bit of a difference, and I'm not saying that as it's a good thing or bad thing. It's just a lot more competitive, and you have to do more to really stand out to make money. So there are definitely people that are not doing as well and not making as much money, just, not really doing things to the full width of what it needs to be done. So now think about this. Joshua Tree is about 2 to 2.5 hours from Los Angeles. It is about 3 hours away from San Diego. I don't know how many hours from San Francisco and a bunch of other SoCal and NorCal cities, but it has a lot of California residents that drive in to Joshua Tree to experience the beauty of it. Now, so that's a big part of the demographic. And then you'll still have people flying in to check out the national park and do that kind of thing. But for the most part, you have a lot of drive-in traffic. You have a lot of people that want to check off the checklist, 3 million visitors to the national park, that kind of thing. But really, for the people that are coming there, they really want to try to get away. They want to learn. They want to see more of the desert life. A lot of times, people are crammed in cities and next door neighbors and loud noises and a lot of traffic. And you go out to Joshua Tree, and it's just. And I'm sure you've been there, Breanna, so you know. But it's relaxing. You want to relax. You want to let go. You don't want neighbors all around you, and you want to be in serenity. And so that's the kind of demographic. Now, the kind of person that invests there tends to be somebody that wants their creativity to be heard, right? We have LA and San Francisco. We have LA, some of the most creative, ambitious people, in the country, right? The entertainment capital of the world. One of them, I'm sure. And so, Hollywood is well known, blah, blah, blah. And you have all these really creative, really smart people. And so the amount of design, the amount of architectural significance, the amount of creation that happens there is significant. There's a lot of competition because there's a lot of really creative people with a lot of resources and a lot of capital to invest in properties to make them magnificent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I definitely think that's a huge reason why it stands out so much from other STR markets. And you're absolutely right in that those that have the capital, this is where they go to because they know that they can put it to use and they are going to get a return on their investment. The same people who are putting the capital into it are the people who are vacationing here in many instances. And so you see some pretty cool stuff, some very unique things, but then also just a really high-end stuff. Are there any design factors in specific that you think attract more guests to Joshua Tree than other markets?
Yes. So design aspects. You cannot skimp on design. It's not a recommendation to make money. It is a requirement to even play ball. Like it's kind of like, you need it to be able to even make money, any sort of money. If you don't design and you try to do it yourself, depending or just it's not going to work as well. So design factor, yes. What people really enjoy seeing, I see a lot of boho is very popular, like a very boho chic style. A lot of natural elements inside the house. However, there's also this big push with these modern. I see a lot of Scandinavian like minimalistic vibe to it as well. There are some like unique outliers that do like maximalist styles. Do you know what maximalist is?
Yeah. Do you feel like that does well in the desert?
Hit or miss. I don't think it does as well. But people do it. Depending. It just depends. If it's a unique experience, it could work. But if it's too cliche, then it might not work. So it depends.
Has to be the right balance of kitsch and class.
Yes, it needs to have a class, right? It needs to feel up. It has to feel like high level. Like I forgot. I don't know the word really. I can't. But you understand what I'm saying. It has to feel higher class. Like
yes, high end.
Upscale, high end. Correct.
Yeah, upscale. That's perfect. I agree with you. And I think most people come to Joshua Tree because they want this large expanse of space, where they can just kind of bask in, like you say, that serenity. And unfortunately, maximalist style tends to do the opposite of that. It's very stimulating. It's not as serene. So I can see where most guests that head to that particular market are going to want that, like super clean, minimalistic. I think that there's such a huge trend with wellness in just design and everything that I think that you're also seeing a lot of like wabi-sabi Japandi influences. So because that lends itself towards such a natural vibe, that I think that is definitely like a key or a telltale sign that it's a Joshua Tree property.
Yeah, but you see how like design is, influenced based on the kind of person that goes out there, right? The person that goes out to Joshua Tree, as you mentioned, wants to relax. They don't want stimulation. And so, this isn't Disney World, where you create this a magical experience. You want to experience things. You want to, or like Orlando, right? Like you want to experience things. You want to see things. You want to be within, with your kids and family. It's a very different demographic than people that come to Joshua Tree. They're like, I want to relax. I want to get away from city life. I want a dopamine refresh. And wellness is a big factor and component to it. So you got to make sure things are not stimulating. Like you said, wasabi Japanese is actually, that's the name of it, right?
So there's two, I guess, like ways that it goes. So you have Japandi, which is like a Japanese Scandinavian design, and then wabi-sabi, which is essentially the same idea, but wabi-sabi is the like the Japanese term for the style of design and the effect that it has on our well-being.
Japandi. So I do have one prop. I do have a few that have that vibe, but I have one prop in particular that does really, really well. And they do Japandi. It was created by two therapists too. So they're very much about, hey, coming back to center with yourself and all that. And they have these really cool little, like, they're building this right now, like little QR codes to like tell you like different, like, just like different prompts by themselves, the therapist that like helps you relax. Like, it's really cool.
Talk about
But it
health
does
and
really well.
wellness in your design. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Are
some cool
there
stuff.
are there other amenities that you've seen be super successful in this market that bring that health and wellness focus to their properties?
Yeah, I think the owners that really go for it. Well, the hot tub, of course. Hot tub and pool is in this market are necessities. Pool can be, it doesn't have to be in-ground pool, but at least having a cowboy pool or some kind of water feature is like needed right now. In-ground pool obviously is preferred. Now that's just part of just cooling off, especially in the summer. But now you have the sauna and the cold plunge combo. That's really popular. People are like, well, it's the desert. Why would you need a sauna? And saunas, fun
Outside.
fact. Yeah, right. Just go outside. That's your sauna. It's like, well, it gets pretty cold at night in the winter or the off season or the on season. So having a sauna is actually really nice to be able to warm up. So just a sauna, a nice little sauna. You go into the cold plunge and you go back to the sauna and then you go to the pool and then you go to a hot tub. It's just like a nice, relaxing retreat, like your own personal spa at your home. And so that's been really popular. Landscaping, funny enough, who knew that landscaping would have an effect? But landscaping's great. That's part of design too, right? How do you create the landscaping design to influence specific decisions for guests? Either you have a hiking trail in the backyard, which some houses do, or you have a meditation garden, or you have just a garden in general that you can walk to and be peaceful. There's a yoga deck that you can take to not only just do yoga, but just to relax and center yourself again. So, with a view too, there's something spiritual and refreshing about that.
I love that. Those are all such good ideas. And I think you're absolutely right. Nothing would bother me more than getting to a house and I'm coming for the pool or I'm coming for the hot tub. And when I'm ready to go out there at night, I have to walk through dirt to get there. And then my wet feet have to walk back through dirt to get back. Nothing would bother me more. Like I hate that feeling at the beach, stand on your feet. So like dirt on your feet, even worse. So
I
you really need
totally
pavers
agree.
at least.
Yeah, like that's what we tell owners. Like, just do pavers and you'll be fine. But you can't just have like this plot of just dirt and then you have a hot tub in the middle of nowhere. Have like a nice little setup, make it a little deck, do something, and then have pavers to go back to the house. You don't want to track that into your house regardless. So it's just good practice for cleaners as well. Yeah.
Do you know, are there any specific statistics or anything like that in regards to like if you have just let's just say a cowboy pool versus if you have an in-ground pool? Are there statistics to say like one or the other gives you a significantly higher nightly rate, or do you think they're about the same? What would you say in regards to that?
Yeah, in-ground pools dominate cowboy pools by far, and no pools just do even worse. But cowboy pools at least necessary. Now we actually ran a whole portfolio analysis across all of our units, and we saw that there was a jump. We have this statistic called RevPAR. RevPAR basically means occupancy of the unit times the average daily rate for that unit. So average daily rate, whatever. So it's the best indicator of how much more money you can make, adjusted for price, how much people pay per night and how much it gets occupied during the year. So considering that, you go into pool homes. Pool homes do in the summer about $150 to $200 more on average, RevPAR. So it's occupancy times ADR. So, it could be more per night, let's say it's 50% booked. That's, you can get 250 to, hold on, math. You can get $300 to $400 more. So that's a pretty significant jump. And then in the off season, it could be as, during the busy season, it could be around 100 to 150 ish. So it's still significant. People still want pools. So it's definitely a good amenity to have.
And in that market, have you gone through adding a pool to a property? I mean, what's the average investment on adding something like that, an in-ground?
Ooh, yeah, good question. Prices are going to change always, but as low as 50,000, as high as 120, 150. If you're just getting a pool with just a basic pool, no pool cover, with no I don't know, like with no pool cover, with no like heating, no nothing like that, then it's going to cost less. But if you want to get the pool cover, if you want to get the heating, if you want to get the spa included in it, if you want to get a bigger pool, if you need to take down move Joshua trees, not take them down, but move them or move different aspects, it gets expensive. So move boulders, like sometimes there's boulders in the ground, you have to move them. So there's a lot of considerations, but at the end of the day, it's somewhere around there.
Yeah. And I think that's a common misconception. People think like, oh, I could put a pool in for $60,000 because this contractor told me it's going to be $60K to put in this pool. But you don't stop to think about the fact that you have to add the material of like your tile or stone coping. Then you have concrete after that because you need some form of decking. You're more than likely going to have to furnish maybe some loungers or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then obviously you need pool towels and the things that come with that for the guests. But then you also have lighting. Yeah. You can't just drop a bunch of concrete and a body of water in the middle of a dirt backyard and not consider the fact that you're going to have to put some plants or something
landscaping
around it. Right. So then that grows. So I can imagine that it would be a significant investment. But if it's going to increase both your occupancy rates and your daily rates, I mean, then you obviously pull those numbers in specific for that for that neighborhood and see who you're competing against. Because if you're in a market or you're on a street where there's 4 other properties that have in-ground pools that are just top notch and you don't have one, then obviously it is going to be a necessity just to even be able to compete. So I can understand that would be smart. And in those cases, I'm sure you would advise people not to go the cowboy pool route because it's not even going to stand up to the 3 or 4 other in-ground pools that they have.
Yeah. And absolutely. And I think a lot of times it's also about future proofing. I think a lot of times people, especially in a space like Joshua Tree where it's very competitive, might as well just make the best product possible forward so that you don't have to continuously update every year or two. Like that would suck. Like imagine doing a cowboy pool and then you did this huge investment and you spent money on the cowboy pool, 20 grand, and then you made less money. And so then, but they're like, oh, once the money comes in, they'll do it. And it's like, well, what if the money doesn't come in as hot as you think it does, and then all of a sudden you're down more and more. You have to now redo the whole cowboy pool and do a full pool, and it's just like counterintuitive. So it's just better just to get it done right the first time. Just get a good product that's future proof, that's going to stand the test of time. When the economy goes down, what's going to happen? Like, are you going to continue to have a property without a pool? Like you're going to struggle versus the pool properties because there's less supply. More supply in the market and less demand. So, yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about that. So if you happen to find yourself in a property which you, based off of your market analysis, have determined that it is necessary to have an in-ground pool, but let's say you don't have that $150,000 or whatever the cost is going to be for the entire project at the forefront, as opposed to putting $15,000 to $20,000 into this little cowboy pool area, it may be better to maybe invest in an above ground hot tub or jacuzzi spa, or maybe at this point you can put in that sauna and cold plunge, and then that is something that's going to stay. You're not just throwing that money out. We don't want to throw baby out with the bathwater. We're not going to throw that $15,000 to $20,000 away when you then come in and put this in-ground pool. Whereas you're not going to keep the cowboy pool that you're investing that money in once you put in the in-ground pool. So it literally would be throwing away that money in 1 to 2 years, or whatever the plan is. So I think investing in an amenity that will be able to stay beyond, the plan of bringing in this in-ground is probably the better option there for investors looking in this market.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned people want to be in these open spaces, and we just touched on, like, if you're in a neighborhood and on one street, 4 houses have in-ground pools. Let's talk about the difference between houses that are in neighborhoods and then houses that are just out in the open. There's not another neighbor, in a 1 mile radius from you. Do you find that one type of property over the other can profit more?
Yeah. I mean, look, we know our guest avatar. What did our guest avatar wants to do? They want to get away, and maybe they want to be at the national parks. Maybe they want to be close to the parks. The location might matter, being closer to a park. Maybe they want to just get away and just be out in the open and have good landscape and good boulders and things of that nature, like land. They just want to be in serenity. They want to be in nature. So the closer you can build an experience like that, the more money your place can command. That's the way I look at it. And so, yes, if you're remote, like, definitely going to be attracting more people than if you're in a neighborhood. And quite frankly, the neighborhood homes are capped out to a certain degree. You're going more for a budget kind of traveler. And so that's just that.
Okay. That makes sense. Yep. Are there other attractions outside of the national park that people are coming to? I mean, would there be anything like the convenience of having a grocery store or being close to restaurants? Like, are there enough of those kind of, let's just call them attractions or conveniences nearby, that it's even worth looking at properties that are close to them? Or would you say that most people, they're coming prepared and they don't really care? Do you provide that for your guests so they don't have to worry about the convenience? What's the case there?
Yeah. So there are services, of course, that stock your fridge and do that kind of stuff. We know those people, as well as people that do, spa retreat, or they come out and do like meditation with you guys or that kind of thing. You can order that, private chefs. But you were saying, like, is there other attraction that people come out here? The number one I can think of, other than national park, of course, other than the idea of just like being out in the middle of nowhere, just to be out in the middle of nowhere. The other things is just the town. So there's a really cool town with a lot of really cool restaurants. The thing is small town feel. There's some really cool restaurants around that people experience. Kitchen and Desert is one of them. Really cool restaurant. There's La Copine. There's the Copper Room. Like, these are very high-end, very cool experiences. Like, Copper Room's like right off of a runway, like a private airport runway, which has got amazing food. La Copine was, I believe, nominated for Michelin star, or tried to, or whatever. So it's very high level. I think it's a French restaurant or American, I don't know, but it's a really good restaurant. Wow. And then the big attraction that people really like is Pioneertown. So the one trend that's happening in Joshua Tree is that people are less booking or less searching for Joshua Tree, right? When you go on Airbnb, you search Joshua Tree. More people are now searching for Pioneertown. And the reason for that is because the attraction there is Pappy and Harriet's and Soundstage, and these other investments are happening. Red Dog, all this kind of stuff. So what does this mean? There's obviously, so Pioneertown is a small little Western town, like literally 20 minutes outside of 30 minutes maybe from Joshua Tree. So 30 minutes. Sometimes you'll be closer or further depending on where you're at. It's closer to the entrance to get into Yucca Valley, which is going through. Anyways, it's pretty close. And so the location is you're going into these crazy mountain ranges with these awesome boulders and all this jazz, all this beautiful stuff. And there's a venue there called Pappy and Harriet's, and Pappy and Harriet's is up and coming, like just such a, like, we get like, I can't name off the top of my head, but we get like top shows. Like some of the artists that you listen to, like they will play at Pappy and Harriet's. And so especially during Coachella, like a lot of artists will come from Palm Springs area, Coachella Valley area. They'll come up and want to play at like Pappy and Harriet's and whatnot. So there's a lot of artists. It's really well known.
How far is Pioneertown from Coachella?
Like 50 minutes probably.
Okay.
Oh, from Coachella. Hold on. That might be like an hour.
The actual like concert grounds, fairgrounds.
Okay, that might be longer. It might be like an hour-ish, hour plus. But from Palm Springs, like the beginning of Palm Springs might be like 45. Yeah. So somewhere around there. Hopefully I'm doing but it's within, it's like an hour or so.
Gotcha.
And so anyways, it's an incredible location. There's a lot of people that will book and they'll say, I'm here in town for this show. And so they'll go in town for the show. They'll book a property in Pioneertown that you can walk to Pappy and Harriet's, and or some of our places we've entertained having golf carts and things of that nature. That's developing to take you to Pappy and Harriet's. You can go to the concerts and you go back home. And then you have this amazing starry sky, beautiful, like awesome town, whatever. Pioneertown itself is an old movie set in the 1950s. They used it for a bunch of movies and they just left it there. And now there's like these really cute shops and all this stuff. And there's Soundstage, which is another development going on for like EDM artists and just in general, like just like not only EDM, but just like for all artists to just like have a place to do music. So there's a big music hub kind of brewing, which is super cool. But anyways, yeah, it's a good long-term investment, Pioneertown.
Interesting. That is really cool.
Yeah.
So are there, I guess, so we're talking about people who want to come out into the desert and they want to experience nature, and ultimately their vacation is more nature focused. Would you say, is it still important to offer like high-speed Wi-Fi, other tech amenities? How important is it to make those offerings when people are coming for more of a nature focused vacation?
What's crazy is no matter how disconnected people want to get, they still want to have the option to be connected. And I get it. Yeah. Sometimes people, especially when they come out on vacation during the week, they might have, work calls still. They might have to take, their kids are still, I don't know. There's so many different reasons or sometimes they'll come out to do work out there and have some clarity. We've had like really interesting writers of TV shows and whatnot stay at our properties, and they're doing a lot of writing for the TV show. So it's like they go there for inspiration and for to help with their writer's block, change of scenery. And so for them, it's like, okay, they're just invoking curiosity and all that, but they still need to be working. So that's a really popular thing. But yeah, okay. So I would agree.
So high-speed Wi-Fi for sure. Are there other techie type things that you would recommend having for guests to be able to experience?
To experience, not really. Other than TVs, like smart TVs, just have that just as an option. People like having TVs. Movie theaters actually do pretty well, surprisingly. Some people still like movie theaters, outdoor movie theaters. We do outdoor movie theaters, which are really cool. So that kind of experience is huge. And then, let's see, I can't think of anything. But I think most of it's just like having your normal tech stuff, like getting self check-in through a digital keypad, the Ring camera to see like what people are doing on the front yard or the cars coming in. So things like that for safety issues. But other than that, I think solar is great from an investment point of view. But that's pretty much all. Or pool heating. That's techie. That's a big one. People really like pool heating because sometimes it gets pretty cold in the winter. So.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. So if you find that people come to work and things of that nature sometimes, do you feel like it's worth it to create a dedicated workspace in the property? I mean, of course, Airbnb allows us to check that box and say there's a dedicated workspace. So how important is it to include those in our properties in Joshua Tree?
I don't see really too much of a difference between workspaces and non-workspaces. I think people, like for me, when I go on vacation, I just like do it at the kitchen like counter, and I'll just like find a spot. Maybe there are segments of properties that get booked more, but it's not noticeably different. So it's kind of like a nice to have. It's kind of like an EV charger, nice to have,
Okay. That would be a techie thing that I imagine would be nice because you're driving all that way. You need to be able to charge your car and not have to go drive 30 more minutes to go find a charger.
Yes. We do have a charger in Yucca Valley now, which helps so much. That I drive a Tesla. I take the charger in Yucca Valley, and that's been good for me. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. How about eco-friendly or sustainable amenities? Would you say that anything along those lines drives bookings in this market?
Eco-friendly. It's hard to tell. I don't see a correlation to eco-friendly and bookings. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. All right. So you haven't experienced then with your properties, like that there's a significant desire for that or anything like that. Have you seen people really advertise it that way?
A few people are like, oh, off grid, or there's some people that advertise, like, okay, this is like fully eco-friendly house that's getting put together. But not many people are doing that. So it's not like the biggest thing. But I'm sure there's some people that appreciate it and will only stay in eco-friendly places. So
gotcha.
Like there are people that are like, well, there are some cases like where people are like, oh, I need to know when this thing was built because I have a specific allergic reaction to this one thing. And I need to know there's stuff like that. Randomly. They're like, oh, like I need to know, like, do you have central or, I don't know. It's weird stuff like that. But other than that, I don't see too much of a difference.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about pools. We've talked about landscaping. So those outdoor spaces are obviously going to be super crucial because people are coming for the outdoors. So it's extremely important to think about those factors. We've talked about how important it is to have professional design in this market because that is the bar that's being set. These are creative professionals that are building and designing these properties, and that's just what you're competing with. So as an investor going in and purchasing a plot of land or purchasing a house that needs to be renovated, you're definitely going to be better off if you have professional team members. And then outside of that, we talked about whether or not tech is important. How important is that for our guests? What is attracting people to the area? And some of those conveniences that we could provide our guests for kind of that superior service. Any other amenities that you would recommend would be smart investments for Joshua Tree investors?
The more you can get off of just anything that's like, obviously don't make a concrete jungle, but or a wood decks, but like wood decks are nice, like concrete areas are nice outside. Really just spend a lot of time investing into the outdoor experience for people because that's where they want to spend the time. So make the investments where people are going to spend the time and make it appealing and make beautiful views and beautiful serenity so that people can feel at peace and away and or have an experience where they can come out there and enjoy themselves. So I think it's just really focusing all the amenities around outdoor experience for these people and making sure that they feel great in that space. Don't invest your money into a bathroom or anything like that. So there have been a lot, like I have my designer do my outdoor hardscaping, landscaping, everything. Like she does all of that so that it kind of works together with the indoor because it's such an important piece of the puzzle. And so I think that's like an important thing to do.
Okay. I hear that. I do have to say, as a designer, I do want to caveat that with you allocate the primary portion of your budget to those exterior spaces because that is what's going to draw your guests. But don't forget to include the interior of your property, making sure there's enough bed spaces, air mattresses just do not count. They do not provide the experience that you want to provide your guests. So bed spaces for people to sleep and then enough dining spaces for people to sit and eat together. And then of course, enough seating in the main seating area to accommodate all of your guests. So if you have a property that can sleep, 15 guests in beds, then you do need to have enough space for everybody to sit in a living room at the same time, or for everybody to dine. That's probably going to mean that you need 2 separate dining spaces. But these are things important to think about. I actually attended a bachelorette party in Palm Desert, not Joshua Tree, but not long ago. And while the property was fun, the design was super cute, the beds were really comfortable, and it could house our whole group. We had a lot of fun at the pool and things like that. The kitchen was stocked well enough for us. But we wanted to have a movie night, and not all of us could fit. And we're in our 30s, and sitting on the floor is just not the same. It just doesn't feel very good the next day. So it was a little unfortunate because we all wanted to have this movie night, and it wasn't sustainable for a long sit, 2 hours of just sitting and watching a movie for, 12 women. And then on the flip side, there was only a dining table that sat 6. And outside there was a dining table that sat, I think it might have sat 4 or 6 as well. But we actually had to move all of the dining chairs outside in order to accommodate our group. And then we just all ate outside. The interior wasn't even big enough to push 2 tables together. So there was nowhere to put that space. So it's just something to think about when you want to maximize the number of, guests that you're going to be able to accommodate. Is there even enough room in your living room or your dining room to, again, just house these people? So that is important. Anything else on the interior that you can think of? I mean, how important is it to have a stocked kitchen in Joshua Tree?
Okay. Yeah. The interiors are really important too. So that is 100%, I agree with you. Usability is huge. And it's if you're going to have 15 people, make sure you have enough for everybody, not only from seats, and hot tub usage and pool. Don't get a small pool if you have a big house experience, right? Don't make this think about how many people are going to be there, and also accommodate those people from not only a usability. I think a lot of times people forget oh, well, I have enough seats for everybody. I have enough everything for everybody, but they don't think about how people are going to group together. Oh, what if everyone wants to watch a movie around the living room? That's such a perfect example of a 3-person couch on a 15, it's just 15 people stay. It's not going to work. And so, yeah, I love that. And like you said, stock kitchen is huge because people, they don't sometimes want to go, and there's, they just want to cook at home. They don't want to go out sometimes. They want to use the kitchen, and they want to have a potluck. Food is a very spiritually awesome process. People love eating together. It's we've been doing this as humans for generations. So that is a sacred thing. It's if you're all cooking together, it's just a great experience to share food and all that. So I definitely think it's definitely having a fully stocked kitchen is huge. If they don't have a specific utensil, you don't have enough utensils for people, small things like that. We have a checklist that we go through, and there's there's so many line items of, is this here? Is this here? Is this here? Right? And if it's not, let's order it. And we have a huge list. So we do a lump sum order to make sure that place gets stocked to the brink. Right? So 100% stock kitchen. Every interior, other stuff in the interior. Where I wouldn't invest money as much is personally, and designers might kill me for this, but you don't have to go for the most expensive tile. Okay? You can go for the nice looking tile that looks great, that you put it up in the bathroom. Awesome. Putting the more expensive tile is not going to make you more money. Now, if you have a tub, that's a cool amenity with tub, and say there's a view out the back, with the mountains, that is cool. But just a tub alone, it's just people's overspend on certain things. It's you don't need to go for the most high-end stuff. It's about usability and functionality and understanding that people are going to utilize it a specific way. And it has to look good. So just make sure everything looks good together and looks good. And just make sure the design's clean and minimalistic / boho / just nicely done. So just easy on the eye. And it does a job of functionality for everyone involved. That's kind of what I'm going for.
I actually agree with you. I actually agree. I think it doesn't make it doesn't make sense to put the $30 a square foot tile in your bathroom when you could put a $13 or $14 square foot tile, and you're still getting, you're still getting a statement with your bathroom and your tile work just the fact that you don't have a fiberglass shower insert is already putting you up, right? So as long as you have some tile work in there, I don't think you need to spend twice as much on your tile. It's just you're not going to get a direct ROI on the more expensive tile. It's a personal decision at that point. So you have to decide when you're just designing your property, is it a personal property or is it an investment property? Because the investment decision is going to be go with the lower budget tile that still provides an impact, and can still draw in guests, but maybe it doesn't have a specific pattern, or maybe it's not hand finished or, imported from Italy or something like that. You know what I mean? Because guests aren't going to be like, ooh, the guest bathroom shower has tile that's imported from Italy. I'm definitely booking this one and spending, you're not going to spend your guests aren't going to spend twice as much a night because you spent twice as much on the tile, right? So think about it from that perspective. I want to jump back to the kitchen really quick because you have high-end properties. I'm curious, when you do stock your kitchen, do you stock them with high-end kitchen amenities? Like, are you okay with a Mr. Coffee, drip coffee machine, or do we need to really step it up here and provide higher end amenities in the kitchen space?
To a certain degree, right? Get stuff that looks nice and that does the purpose. Don't get the cheapest thing, because think about it like it's just from a commercial standpoint, right? Like people are using this stuff over and over and over again, and people are going to constantly come in your house more than you would use these things. So it gets pretty nasty pretty quick. So it's better just get something that's going to last time versus having the headache of having to replace things all the time, / get guests to your house and then realize the toaster doesn't work and they're pissed off. And it's just every little thing's just going to add on to them being pissed off. And I heard it, I had my own podcast. We had a guest, she's from Katie. She's from Ritz-Carlton background. So she worked for Ritz-Carlton and all these other big high-end brands. And she said that the first 10 minutes is one of the most important time to impress the guests. Like, they'll know how good the stay is off of the first 10-minute impression. And so what do you notice for the first 10 minutes? Is that the beds are made clean? Like, is the layout of the house great? They're going to start using some things here and there. Now, if things don't work right off the bat, that's going to just add up tally points. And then if things don't work off the bat, they're going to start looking for things that are not working. And that's exactly where you don't want to be. You want to be in a place where it's like everything's working, everything's clean, everything looks so nice, appealing to the eye. And it's not like, oh, this is nasty. Okay. And then it's like they're sketching out and then they're starting to look for stuff that are broken. So you want to just really focus on just providing the best experience possible with as least hiccups as possible. So guests are really happy. And that kind of ties it all in.
Yes. And 10 days after they check out, when they have that reminder from Airbnb to, write that review for your property that you stayed at, the first impression is going to stick with them a lot longer, 100%. Right? They're going to hold on to that first impression a little bit more so than 3 days in when they went to go, cook some eggs and they're like, oh shoot, I don't have a spatula, or whatever the case may be. That they'll forget a little bit quicker than walking into a messy kitchen or something disheveled or broken or something like that. So for sure, I agree with that. We will link that podcast episode in the notes so that people who do want to hear what Katie had to say about guest first impression and stuff. Cool. I mean, I'm all about getting you guys all of the information and all of the value that you can. And Patryk brings tons of value on his podcast too. So we'll certainly link that in the show notes for people if they're interested in listening to that episode. You've actually with me referenced that episode a couple of times. So it must be a really valuable episode.
It's a good one.
Awesome. Well, I think we've gotten a lot of great information. I personally have a great idea of, what it would take to create a successful property in this market. And as people go through and do a little bit of their own market research, I think they're going to find a lot of what you're looking at or what you've been talking about. So those outdoor spaces, et cetera. Now that you're already at the end of the episode, if you've been listening to this episode and you're not watching this episode, I do encourage you to watch these episodes on YouTube. The podcast is intended to be a video podcast. And the reason for that is as I'm speaking with guests about specific amenities or certain types of design or things like that, you're going to see photos pop up on the screen of sometimes it could be properties that Patryk co-hosts or owns. And you're going to see exactly what it is that we're talking about. So we can show you what is Japandi, what is wabi-sabi, and we can show you the difference between a backyard that does not have landscaping and one that does have, really thorough and intentional landscaping with, guest experience at the forefront of mind. So again, just encourage you to watch on YouTube if you are interested in getting that visual aspect as well. I think that is where this podcast will be the most helpful. So
design is a very visual thing. I think it definitely benefits to, and if you're driving, don't watch it. But if you are at home, like, why not? It's, you get to see our expressions as well. So you'll see that I'm not being held hostage. I'm definitely smiling and wink, wink, wink. I'm in trouble. No, I'm kidding. No, we're enjoying ourselves. So hey, just join the conversation,
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day again and sharing with us. And if you guys want to hear more from Patryk, like I said, I'm going to link his podcast as well. And he's going to share so much valuable information there. But I'm hoping that you guys were able to get a lot of good value out of this episode as well. So last time, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Take care.
All right.